dear Edna, who stood by me for so many years at Myrtle Beach and throughout my journey here on earth. Dear Ann and Joe, who have made their own my joy and my comfort for these last 6 years. You have been my soft landing. Dear Marion, AJ, Jean, Francis, Martha, Kathy, Aaron, Lisa, Kitty, Terry, Amy, Doris, Cindy, Porter, Liza, Isa, Eugene, Sam, Pam, Johnny, Ricky, Bobby, Rob, Dana, Bridget, Debbie, Brandy, Amy, Elisha, MK, Alex, and countless others who have stood by me. I say thank you. When the storms of life were raging, you stood by me. In the midst of my tribulation, you stood by me. In the midst of my faults and failures, you stood by me. In the midst of my persecution, you stood by me. When I grew old and feeble, you stood by me. When the world was tossing me like a ship upon the sea, you stood by me. When the host of hell assailed me and my strength began to fail me, you stood by me. When I did the best I could and my friends misunderstood, you stood by me. When my foes in war arrayed and tried to stop my way, you stood by me. When my life became a burden and I was nearing chilly Jordan, you stood by me. Oh, you, my lilies of my valley, you stood by me. With all my heart, I thank you. Helen gave us so many precious memories of celebration today. And in the days ahead, I pray you will reflect for her on these memories. And I'm going to just share a few of them. I used to come down, trying to get here about once a quarter for the last 30 years. I make it always once a quarter. Never made it enough. Ann would tell you, never stayed long enough. The girls, as we call them, loved to go out to lunch, and they loved to go to ride. And one of the places they loved was to go to Yoder's. And I have in the car, played it all the way down here, 14 hours in the car. I have a wonderful collection of 2 CD set of Tennessee Ernie Ford hymns. You little ones are a little bit too young to know Tennessee Ernie Ford, but I do hope you'll get to know him someday. But it's all the wonderful hymns like Precious Memories, Old Rugged Cross, Stand By Me, In the Garden, and Amazing Grace. When I first got the CD, it was a number of years ago, but I gave it, and I got the girls in the car with me. And of course, we were going to do the ride and go to Yoder's for lunch. And of course, I like to do the back roads. I don't ever go anywhere the most direct route, you know, because life's a journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And so I wanted to have the journey. And so I put Tennessee Ernie Ford on. And it was a precious memory. It was an exquisite moment. You know, C.S. Lewis says that we are all little Christ, or at least have the potential to be little Christ. And I had 3 little Christs with me in that car that day. I had Aunt Lou, Porter's mother. I had Sadie, my mother, and Aunt's mother. I had Aunt Helen. Mother sat in the front. She always liked to sit in the front. They called that the throne, the girls did. Aunt Lou sat in the back behind me. And Aunt Helen, she sat in the chauffeur seat over on the right-hand side in the back. That was always where she preferred to sit. And I popped into Tennessee Ernie Ford. And what made that particular trip so exquisite was that we broke into song. Now, every one of Tennessee Ernie's songs, those 3 girls would sing along. Of course, I'd break right in there with them. But we would sing along. And you know, it's a 60-song set, and they knew every one of them. They knew every word of every song. And they all just sang like angels. It was incredible. And between some of the songs, I said, well, how in the world do you know these songs? And they said, well, these are the songs of our childhood. When we were a little girl, we would go see our family up in Pickens, up in Oconee. And Dad Porter and all of us children, we would be in the car, and we'd drive up into the mountains. And of course, we didn't have a CD or even a radio. But Dad Porter knew all these songs. And that house, that car full of children, we would all sing those songs. And that's one of the places we learned those songs. And of course, they all went to the Methodist church here in town. And those were the songs of their childhood. And they would all sing those songs. It was so impressive to me that here these ladies in their, well, Aunt Helen was 96, so she must have been about 91 or 92. And then, of course, the younger girls. And all of them knew all the songs and just fell right in there singing along with me and Tennessee Ernie Ford. It was a very sweet memory. I had the blessing of retiring 6 years ago. Aunt Helen was my hero because I retired when I was 50 years old, and Aunt Helen retired when she was 50 years old. A mere 46 years ago, she retired. And I always said I wanted to grow up to be like Aunt Helen and retire early, so I was able to share that story with her about how I called her in advance. I was very excited I was going to retire when I was 50. And I said, Aunt Helen, that's just like you. You retired when you were 50. She said, oh yes, oh yes. And then she made a precious memory when she said, you know, Bill, retirement is the best branch of the service. We talked about our different assignments, you know. Aunt Helen had a lot of assignments, just an awful lot of assignments. And she loved to say, another precious memory here, she loved to say, boy, you know, when I got out here to the farm with Ann and Joe, I guess you'd say I had a soft landing. On an aircraft carrier, when a plane comes in and kind of touches down real gently, say, well, he had a soft landing. I love the way she would sprinkle them in those military terms into her conversation. We were getting out of the car one day, standing there, Ann's house, if you really sit on it, you don't think of it as a big hill, but it's on a hill. And the ground kind of falls off all around. And we were getting out, and I was holding her hand, and we were coming up, and we kind of stopped and looked